Happy Thursday, everybody. We are back. Two View from Pews in 1 week. Probably too many, but we are back. Brandon Klein and John Reed. Brandon, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going great, Chris. How are you?
Good. And John, you're back. Wearing the
Glad
same
to be
clothes
back.
as you were wearing Tuesday, I see, right?
Yeah, I washed it, dried it, and just went through laundry in a hurry so I could put it right back on.
Very fascinating. So, well, I think Brandon was telling me that we probably went, 2.5 hours on Tuesday? A little bit long of a podcast, right?
Yeah, it was a bit of a longer podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to keep this one brief in the interest of time. So, yeah, we talked a lot of football, a lot of music, and everything. It's kind of an interesting combination we have here. I've known John for a long time. I've known Brandon for a long time. Brandon and John have never met each other before this week, and just wanted to kind of share a little bit of our backstory. Brandon Klein, I used to work as an editor for a newspaper group in Gallion, a couple other places, needed a reporter. Brandon kind of volunteered. Worked with Brandon for a while before, unfortunately, I left him to head to Gannett. But it was a pretty good experience. Um, Brandon didn't know much about sports reporting, but he picked it up pretty quick. Brandon, how was Gallion?
Oh, Chris, what? Like you said, it was an experience. Good one. Yeah, I never learned much about sports reporting. And it was kind of opened a little bit a new door for me. Yeah, not that I went into sports reporting later on, but always good to be versatile.
Very interesting, and I'll be obviously very politically correct in how we put this. Gallion had an interesting political climate at the time. There was they just adopted the mayor form of government. They had the mayor, they had some friends of his, and they had this group against the mayor. And it was funny because Gallion, very much small town USA, but it was kind of probably everybody involved one of the most volatile political cities I've covered, and I've been fortunate enough to go to some big cities and everything else. Um, how was it, Brandon? I know we had some interesting days there.
Oh yeah, I mean, conversations with the mayor were probably the highlight of that portion. But there were some good characters there. I think it's like everyone, the biggest problem with that town, if it's really called a problem, is everyone really cares about that community, and it's just they all struggled over how they wanted to care about their community. So, but you can't fault them for that. Yeah, but it was fun little town to cover for a while.
And Brendan and I have had a lot of off, camera discussions about this. I think part of it too, and we could go on this for a million years, with Ohio journalism. A lot of times with a smaller town, just it's a twice a week paper. For the longest times, a lot of editors that go in there are looking at from a aspect of let's just do feature community type news. And I ran in there for a big head of steam, going, we're going to do some really good hard news. And one of the things I really liked about working with Brandon was that type too, and I think it was something that Guy just wasn't used to. And when you go from featurey, let's have fun, family news, to hey, let's investigate something that's going on, obviously it's going to ruffle a little bit of feathers.
Yeah, that's probably what happened, and yeah, that sums it up.
But obviously time flies, and it's great that Brandon's still here. I mean, and we're podcasting now in a basement late on a Monday night broadcast Thursday. But Brandon, thanks for being here. And John Reed, my goodness, I've known. I didn't hire John. John and I met in junior high. Tons of experiences. We tried some weird podcasts in the past where we did a lot of kind of inside jokes and stuff. But John, it's good that you're here.
Glad to be here,
As we
Chris.
talked about Tuesday, you're up in Columbia now doing some pastoral work. How's everything going?
It's going. Anytime you deal with people, just like in dealing with media, you run across good, bad, ugly. I'm happy to dive in and get into a little bit of the dirty work of it. The big issue is I would just ask anyone who watches this podcast, don't just reject me because I'm a minister. So
yes, definitely. And I think one of the things that we wanted to talk about, with these Tuesday and Thursday shows, we're going to briefly touch on pop culture and everything else, but from time to time we're going to try to do some specialty shows. John, we could talk about briefly. John and I both started our college careers at Malone University. Malone made some news, dropping the football program, which probably anybody outside Malone really doesn't care about, but it kind of impacted us. Our freshman year, Brandon, I don't think I've ever told you this story. We had a bunch of freshman guys, John and me included, live on a bottom floor of a women's dormitory. Now, you might think, co-ed dorms, who cares? Not interesting story. It was one of the first times in Malone University history, which was a pretty Christian university, that they allowed that. Mm-hmm. So for somebody that never had that before, it was crazy, and it was funny because the guys, a lot of athletes, a lot of guys that either they didn't explain well enough what the rules of the college was. So I mean, we had guys kicked out for weed, we had guys kicked out for a bunch of different stuff. So we're trying to bring them back together for a reunion podcast. So it should be interesting. So
I remember the very first night there in our dorm, Chris. One of my memories that should have been good foreshadowing was hearing this banging noise and watching the security door, the glass almost explode. It spiderwebbed as someone was trying to mule kick the door in.
Yeah,
I should have known what was going to happen with that dorm floor the moment that went down.
Very strange. And, in contrast, Brandon, where'd you go to college at? You probably told me. I can't remember right now.
The Ohio State University in Columbus campus.
How was that different? Because, for some of us, you go to Christian schools where, you can't look at a girl the wrong way or do everything like that. Did you feel prepared with going to a school where, they let you live your life? Was it better?
Oh, I mean, Chris, Ohio State's one of the biggest campuses in the country, depending on however you want to measure it. But, the thing is with Ohio State is it's a big enough school, you can make it small. And believe it or not, I get bumped into so many different religious groups there. I kept thinking, man, am I actually in a religious school, actually? So it's kind of funny. Probably just part of that Midwestern charm. I had one time I was just sitting at the Ohio Union and had someone come up to me and said, wanted to talk about religion, kind of like more of like the, one of those nice ways is like, oh, what do you think of the problem of evil? Those kind of opening questions, they kind of approach you with. So always leads to good conversations, and, you get to meet new people that way.
Yeah, definitely. And, that's what we're trying to do with this podcast. Like I said, this is a passion project. We're not trying to be Mark Maron. We're not trying to be, I already told John and Brandon, I mean, there's ways we're going to try and make money off this, but I mean, we're not going to be multimillionaires, but just we're practicing better conversation. It was funny. I've been kicking around this podcast idea for a while, and some of my friends I've talked to were like, you, a podcast host? And I'm not generally a great speaker by trade, so it's a good chance for me to practice some of the good stuff, and it's good to have Brandon and John along for the ride. So it's time to get to a very quick and awkward conversation. One of the things we're trying to do with the podcast, we want to have fun. If you guys listen to this nonsense, it'll be really great. But I'm trying to help John and Brandon out through this. This is my website, my deal. John and Brandon are on the ride, and I want to help them out. So how could you help this podcast? Well, a couple things we're going to do real quick. We have an Amazon link. So do you guys shop Amazon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All you got to do is click on the Amazon link, do your shopping, and we get a portion of the proceeds. So it's a way that you're not buying any more, paying any more money for stuff, but it's a way that you can help us out. Secondly, and here's what's going to get awkward. we are selling ads on the View From The Pugh, the podcast. Now, you might be like, who would buy an ad? Well, have fun with it. If you want to donate a certain amount, we will give you an ad on the podcast. Now, I know we're not getting any big corporate ad buy people necessarily watching the podcast, but if you're out there and you want to say, I want Chris Pugh to do an ad for how great Baker Mayfield is of the Cleveland Browns, and trust me, that I would hate that because I hate the Cleveland Browns. You could buy ads saying that. Or if you want to promote something you have coming up, have fun with it. So we're going to put that out there. We want people to get involved, and it should be good. So any thoughts on that, guys?
It's a good way to make Chris do stuff that he wouldn't want to do. So therefore, if you know Chris, it's worthwhile.
Yes, very much so. So, yeah, and just like I said, we're looking for fun ways to get people involved. And again, passion project, we're just talking about some topics, that are of interest to us. So, Brandon, you had something on Facebook earlier today. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit. There was something done in Malone. I'm not Malone, but Columbus earlier. I wanted to ask you about that real quick.
No, what was that about?
There was a movie that was kind of filmed. You shared something earlier about that.
Oh yeah. I was planning to bring it up later. But yeah, there was some independent filmmakers here in Columbus, basically just kind of like actors who have do like local theater here in Columbus. They decided to put on like a film and create an actual kind of like Hollywood level film, or at least a very like an indie film in a sense. They actually got secured some notable talent, which includes James Phelps. He played one of the Weasley twins in the Harry Potter films, and so that actor came, and another top actor, I can't remember his name, he always escapes me, but he played the dad in Psych, I think, and they both came down to Columbus and did a film last year. So probably will definitely reach out to them, see if they're interested to chat with us a little bit more about it. The filmmaker, the director, he's a good Christian guy who really loves films and wanted to really showcase Columbus talent, because the other actors in this film are actually just local people, local actors. So what I shared with earlier on my Facebook page, Chris, was the first teaser trailer since they released it in honor of the Super Bowl. So that was their little add on top of it.
Fantastic. What's made Ohio so interesting to people? I mean, Cleveland's putting a lot of money. There's been some movies filmed up there. Cincinnati, they've had an avalanche of movies. I mean, even starting, I think it was like 20 years ago, Rain Man came out. What's been the interest in Ohio as of late? Are tax breaks, or what's happened there, do you think?
Yeah, I think the film tax credits improved a lot. But also Cleveland and Cincinnati, both being older cities than Columbus, they have much older film commissions, I think, basically they have good, strong arms to promote their cities to attract those kind of major studio deals and so forth. Columbus has one. It's just growing. It's been only around for so many years in the sense, depending on, again, how you measure it. But there are some other productions happening throughout Ohio. I know of another television series being shot by some Columbus folks down near somewhere between I think Cincinnati and Columbus. So that'll be kind of interesting to see that come out when that's completed. But yeah, I'm kind of excited for this fantasy film that I shared with earlier today, and hopefully we might be able to talk more about that at a later time.
All right, sounds good. Well, very long podcast, a good podcast on Tuesday, talking about Super Bowl and some music stuff. I want to kind of respect these guys' time and make sure we don't keep them out too late tonight. So this is your Thursday podcast, View from the Pew. Monday nights we record. You have any questions, anything to bother us about? Have fun, do away, ask away, and we'll be more happy to answer your questions. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short tonight, and have a great night, everybody. See you, John Brandon. Thanks for taking part.
Sure.
Thanks.